Hi, welcome to another section. In today's section, we are going to look at deploying Active Directory domain services, promoting Active Directory to become a domain controller, then also joining the DC core, which is our core machine, to the domain. So how to join a computer or a computer to a domain, but specifically I'll be using the core. As time goes on, we will add client operating system to it. So without wasting much time, let's go straight with what we want to do. So first of all, if you are working on a server, there are certain basic things that you have to get it done. One being the IP address. So in my case, I have given my server 1.8. I am using a class C IP address. So I have already assigned my IP address. I have also changed the computer name of my machine. So the next thing that we need to do is on our server manager. If you don't have a server manager, search for server manager. So you can click on the start and then you should be able to see server manager here. So if yours too is like this, you just go straight to click on manage. So under manage, we going for add rows and features. So here it says before you begin, the things that you need to make sure that it is set. One, you have to make sure that your user account, which is the administrator account that you are using to deploy this, has a strong password. When we say strong password, they are trying to imply that your password must be a blend of uppercase, lowercase, numbers and symbol, right? And then also we need to have a static IP address assigned to our machine. So this particular machine is our server, and we know that server will make resources available to other machines. So there is no way, or we shouldn't use DHCP when it comes to the server. All right, so we have to make sure that we have a static IP address. Then we need to also update the Windows for new or for the Windows security to be updated. So these are the basic things. But if you are doing this solely for learning purpose, then the first two is enough. So we then proceed. If you don't want to see this message again, you just have to check the box. In my case, I will move to next. Then we have the row base. So the row base, we will stick to the row base, which is the installation type, row base. I will move to next here. Then we have the server, so the destination, the machine or the server that you want to install a particular row or feature on, that is where you have to locate the server. So if we have a lot of servers joined, we'll be able to see them also being listed here. All right, so In this case we have 1, so we stick to the 1, which is the 1.8. we move to next. Then we are finally here under the rows. So these are the things that can be installed on a server. So we have the Active Directory, we have the health attestation, we have DHCP, and then the rest. But our main agenda is to install the Active Directory. So that is the second one on the list. So what we have to do is we have to click inside the box besides the Active Directory domain services. So every row needs some features to work with. So when it comes to the Active Directory, these are the default or features that Active Directory need to work with. So we'll stick to these particular features by clicking on Add Features. Then move to next. So when you get to feature here, so far as Active Directory is concerned, we will not do anything because the features that we need has been installed or has been selected. So move to next here. Then we have the overview of the Active Directory. So the Active Directory is there to store, or is coming to store, information about objects. When we say object, we are referring to the likes of the user account, group, computers, services, etc., etc. So this is it. And things to note. So it says if we don't want any form of outage, server outage, we need to have extra domain controller for availability. So in case one of the server decide to not respond, we then switch to the other. We also have the DNS is also required here, but with the DNS we come to that one. So move to next, and then we install. So we wait while the installation proceed. So when it get to this stage, one of the things that we can do here is we can close. One thing about, we know that when one is doing installation on a particular machine, we don't have to close until we know that installation is done. But when it comes to the server installing of rows, we have that option to be able to close the progress. We can also monitor it from the dash the server manager. So if I click on close, it's running behind the scene. All that we have to do is, if you want to know the progress, you just click on the flag, which is the notification, and then you'll be able to see what is happening. So when the installation is complete, we'll be able to see it here. So there is it. Now the installation is almost wrapping up. So we still have to wait. We are supposed to get a prompt, a continuation. We are not done. So now, so we can see we have the warning message appearing beside the flag, meaning something is to be done. So we click on the flag once again. We have this. It says now we have to do a post deployment configuration, which basically is focusing on promoting the Active Directory domain services that we just installed to become a domain controller. And when we talk about domain controller, it is coming in to perform authentication. So it will authenticate the objects, meaning the users, the computers that will be pulling or will be viewing resources from this machine. So we have to promote it to become a domain controller. We click on it. Then the deployment configuration actually set in. So it says we should select the deployment operation. We have domain controller to an existing we have a new domain to an existing forest, we have a new forest. Bear in mind that we don't have any domain, we don't have nothing, we are starting from the scratch. So we cannot add this one to an existing domain, we cannot add this one to existing forest. So the only option that we have to use is the third one, which is add a new forest. So we click on it. Then we have to now input the domain name. What domain name do you want to use? So I will use eggdev dot com eggdev.com. Move to next. Then the next thing is the options. It's still loading, so good. Domain controller options. So we need to select, we have forest functional level, we have the domain functional level. So when we are looking at forest domain is a subset under forest, right? So when we click on the drop down here, we don't, under the what's the name, on the domain functional level, the DFL, we have only one. But when we take the forest functional level, we have some options here: server 208, 208 R2, 12, 12 R2, we have 16. Right, so whatever that we select here affect the domain controller here, domain forest functional. We can also decide to select what this, right? So I'll just stick to my 2016. What implies is that in case if we have a lower version of the, let's say lower version domain around, it should be able to what pick or be able to communicate with the 19, right? So I'll stick to the 16. Then we also have what the domain controller capabilities. So we have the likes of the DNS, which is the domain name services. One of the things that the domain controller will work with is the DNS, right? So on a normal day, when we go to rows and add rows and features under the row, we have DNS as part of the rows that we need to install, but we will not go there to install it from there. By promoting the Active Directory to become a domain controller, we indirectly install DNS. We also have the read-only domain controller, which we can see that we cannot take it here. So in a case where we will also have a different section for this one, the read-only domain controller. So in this case, we have to provide our password. So I will have to maintain the same password as my main machine. Okay, then move to next. So delegation yet to create. So we'll proceed, then we wait for the additional option to verify the NetBIOS name, which should be the first name. Good, so there's it. We move to next. Then it takes us to the part where the Active Directory information will be what? Stored, right? So I will not change the path here, we'll just maintain it and proceed. Move to next. We have the summary of everything that I have selected so far. So move to next to verify whether everything that I have selected provided is good to go before the installation would then set in. We call it a prerequisite. So if everything is intact, okay, we should get what? We should get a check mark stating that the prerequisite check was successful or is successful. So from there we can go ahead and then install. Then we wait for the installation to complete. So when it's done, the machine will restart. You will get a prompt that the machine needs to undergo restarting. So we wait. So we can see that it says it's about to sign out. So I'll just click on OK. Then we wait. So there is it. So it's applying the changes. Okay, so now let's see. It's done restarting. So we have it. We have the domain name. Then we have the administrator. So we provide a password. So this is it. It's loading. Loading. So we wait for the dashboard to finally load. So now it's done loading. So we have the rows installed. Active Directory, we have the DNS also installed here. So the rows installed are also displaying on my left hand side, besides under the dashboard. So there's it. If we go to the local server, we can click here, configure this local server. We can click here, the one on the left hand side, local server. It will take us to the properties, and we can see that the domain is set. The domain is set. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is, now we need to join a machine to the domain, and then the machine that we are going to use to join the domain is the core. So we go to the core. Then first of all, we have to assign IP address to the core. So I'll use the sconfig. So we can see the one work group domain is set to work group. Then we have the computer name. So now let's verify the network setting. We go to number 8, we enter, and then it's using a default, which is a DHCP. It's not within the network that we are using, or I'm using. So I will edit. So I will just press on 1, the index that we want to modify, then what we want to do. So we want to set. So go to select 1, press on enter. Then it's a static, so S, then we enter. Now we have to type the IP address. So 192.168.1.3 here. Then I will enter. It's asking for subnet mask. Default, we leave it like that by pressing on enter. Then we have to set the gateway. So the gateway that I give to the server is 1.2. So 1.2. Then we enter. Okay, now we need to also point this particular machine to the domain controller, which is the DNS. So we have to set the DNS. We press on 2, we enter, and then we have to enter the new, which is the IP address of the domain controller, which is 1.8. Then we enter. Okay, so DNS is set. Okay, so alternative, no, we press on enter, and then we are good to go. So we can see the update now. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to return to the main menu. So we press on 4, we enter. Now the next thing that we need to do here is now that we can equally set the domain from this side, but we want the two machines to communicate before. The server, which is a domain controller, need to communicate with the core. The core need to communicate with the domain controller. First, there should be a communication. If not, the joining will not even be successful. So I will switch to the PowerShell. So I'll go to command mode 15, we enter. Then under the command line mode, now we'll switch to PowerShell. So we type PowerShell, then we enter, we wait for it to load. Okay, so now let's see, we ping 192.168.1.8. okay, so we are getting TTL, meaning the core is able to communicate with the DC. But the question is, can the DC communicate with the core? So we come to the DC, we launch command prompt on the DC. So Windows R will display the run, then we type CMD and press on enter. So here we type the command ping, then we provide the IP address of the core, which is 1.3. Then we enter, and then we are getting request time out. So what we need to do here is we have to now trace where the issue is coming from. So based on the analysis, we can see that the DC is not able to communicate with the core, but the core is able to communicate with the DC. So we need to then go to the core, and then we need to allow the core to accept message from the DC. All right, so we go to the core, and this on the core we are going to do everything here in the PowerShell. So we have to first of all display the firewall profile. So to display, we use the command get. Now one thing about the PowerShell commands is based on verb and a noun. Right? So verb, action, noun, name, right? So get hyphen net firewall profile. So press on the tab key, press on tab key again. So there is it. So get hyphen net firewall profile, one word. We press on enter, then we wait. So we can see the profile, the three profiles. We have the domain, we have the enable, the domain is enabled, but we can see that the inbound action with the outbound action and then the rest are not configured. Our main focus is this, the inbound action. So we can also see the same for private and then also the same thing for public. So without wasting much time, what we'll do is we go ahead and then we now work on the inbound. So we need to create a new firewall rule. So we have new hyphen net firewall rule space hyphen name. So what name do you want to give to your rule? So name, any name that you want to. So in my case, I will name this one, I'll put it in double quote, I'll put it in double quote. So I'll use the domain name, which is allow space ecdev underscore ICMP, then space hyphen protocol space. We have the protocol that I want to allow, which is the ICMP version 4 space the type of so space hyphen the ICMP type. So ICMP type space 8 space hyphen direction space what inbound space hyphen action space. Now the action here is to allow, so allow, then we enter. So it says display name. What name do I want to use? You provide. So I will use ecdev, which is my domain name. I'll enter, and then we can see that we have ecdev allow successful here. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to at least try to ping to see whether it will now be able to reach. So don't forget, beginning the core was able to communicate with the domain. So let's see, it's still communicating with the domain. Now let's try from the domain end. So let's see. So now we can see that the domain is also able to communicate with the core. Now the next thing that we need to do is, since the two machines are now communicating, we can go ahead and then join the core to the domain. So still we will stick to the PowerShell. So here we type the command add hyphen computer space hyphen the domain name. So domain name rather, sorry, the domain name have to come first space the name that we want to use. So our domain name, or the domain name that I'm using, is what? eggdev.com. Then I will then have to provide the credential. So space hyphen credential space. So it will be the login name. We need to give approval. So we have the domain name, which is active / we have what? Administrator. Then the next thing that we need to do is we have to enter, and then we have a pop-up. It says we need to provide the active administrator password here, which is the password of the domain controller. Then we click on OK. So it says we have to restart. Warning: changes will only take effect when the computer restart is so we need to then restart. So here one will say, then how can we restart from this side? Don't worry, we'll still use the PowerShell to restart. So the only thing that we do is we just have to type the command restart hyphen computer. So there is it. Then we enter. Then we wait for it to restart. Then we see how it will be on the core when a core is joined to a domain controller. So it's done applying. Now it says we should press on Control Alt what? Delete. So I will not use a del, I will rather use Control Alt Insert. Then it says enter credential for administrator or hit to switch. We need to switch the account. We are not using the default account that we used on the core. We have to use the new login for the domain. So we have to press on the escape key, then we press on escape key again. So here we need to select a user. So we press on the down arrow key to select other user. We enter. Then we need to now type the username. Bear in mind that we need to start with the domain name. So we have the dev, then the /, then the login name, which is the administrator. So now we are logging in as the domain controller admin. Then we press on the down arrow key to move to the password. Then we provide a password of the domain controller. When you are done, you press on enter, and then the profile will load. So this is it. When it's done, it will bring us to the command line mode. Then if you want to verify this one from the configuration, the system configuration view, we type the sconfig, we enter. Then we can see that the domain name has been updated. At first it was what was the name? Workgroup, and now it has been updated with the appropriate domain name, right? So the last thing that we will check under the core is to check for the domain membership. So we will exit, we go to the command line mode, so 15 exit. Then I will switch to PowerShell. Then when it's done loading inside the PowerShell, we type the command system info space pipeline, which is this one, space. Now in fact the pipeline to help one to execute more commands at the same time, right? So if you want to fetch, if you want to create, if you want to modify, or you can do all at a go by separating the commands with the pipeline. So system information pipeline space what, find string space slash b space slash slash c, which is the name, the drive colon. Then we place this in, which is the domain name. We provide a domain name, which is the dev. Then we enter. So it's loading, no info. Okay, so let me add a complete one to it. .com. Let's see. Let's see, let me bring space. Good. Let me bring space. Let me remove this one, just the name. Then I'll enter. Okay, it says okay, find string argument missing C. Okay, so let me delete. Then we enter. What could I be missing? Okay, so on that note we end here. Thank you for watching.